What's up, guys? Welcome to the Sesh. Today I have a special guest, but before I introduce him, we just came back from Coaching Con 2023, and I went specifically to learn tactics, and there was a lot of tactics, a lot of motivation, and you ended up being there, bro.
Yeah, so, I know. It's small work. I mean, I never see, I attend those conferences. I never see anybody from the Valley.
That's an interesting thing, dude, because I used to go to a lot of conferences back in the day to get tactical information, and then COVID came, and it just destroyed everything. So when they started coming back up, and I saw Alex Hormozy was going to be there, I was like, dude, I got to go meet that guy. I got to be around him, man. So kind of touch on that. Let everybody know what you do and your place here in the Valley.
Yeah, so founded a company called One Shot. We're a lifestyle organization that works with busy professionals all over the world and a lot of local people too, right? So our brand is a lifestyle, right? We're not a gym, we're not giving diet plans. This is an entire lifestyle that we do. So we work with people locally, remotely, help change their lives. I mean, we create transformations within people.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what our organization really does.
That's awesome, man. How long have you been doing it?
Man, in the space of, health and wellness, like 16 years, right? But One Shot, believe it or not, that brand came to place like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, barely.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, because, just trial and error, and eventually we got clear on our mission and what we're trying to achieve here in the Valley, right? And I mean, just everywhere, really. So, yeah, actually, I consider it a year and a half, 2 years ago, because I think that's when we got absolute clarity of why we're here and what's our purpose.
So let's stay on that subject, because I feel like a lot of businesses or a lot of people that are, so for example, 10 to 12 million businesses are going to fail this year, and 1% of them will end up selling. How do you become clear with your message from a business standpoint, how you're going to do business in the community?
Well, for us, our mission is to save 1 million lives. That's legitimately what our mission is, right? So with a mission like that, we got a lot of work to do, right? And when I say save 1 million lives, meaning everybody is on the path to an eventual disease if they're not doing something for themselves. If you're not at least moving your body, trying to make smarter choices, especially in the Valley, right? We have diabetes on the rise. I mean, it's just crazy, right?
So I heard 40% of America is obese.
Yeah, it's like, man, 80%. I mean, it's crazy. Just unhealthy, right? Because it's crazy how much unhealthy there is, right? So,
can you get a little bit closer to the mic?
So everybody is on that path to acquiring a disease to some extent, right? Depending on genetics, you'll get there sooner, maybe a little later, but that's the gamble, right? When we work with people, everyone's on that path. We turn them the opposite direction, right? And so we legitimately change lives every single day. And this is what makes it more purposeful, right? So if you talk about staying in business, right, with a mission like that, there's no price tag to what it feels like when someone says, man, your team changed my life. If it wasn't for you, I would probably be dead by now. And thank God, for my kids and whatnot. And that alone is what drives me, right? To where it's that's, I get goosebumps every day just talking about it, right? But that's what we're doing every single day, right? We're legitimately changing lives. So because we're trying to change lives, it requires a lot of logistics around that, right? A lot of strategy and whatnot. And so if you think about when will I ever stop, I think the question would be if that question to me means, when are you going to stop being happy? Because that's what fulfills me.
Yeah.
Right? So no matter what, I'm never going to stop, because that is where I get my fulfillment from. That means more to me than any amount of money in the world. Right?
So staying on that, when people start a business, I think they usually start it for money.
I did too. I see that as immature entrepreneur mindset, right?
I think even that, those everybody wants to find out for themselves.
Yeah, I was like that too, right? I heard that. I was like, well, I'm gonna find out for myself, right? And sure enough, I did, right? I've hit these big peaks of making a lot of money, and I've lost it all, right? I've been homeless at one point, and I've lost it all, and I know what it's like to chase money, and I'm the type that I had to learn the hard way,
Okay,
Right?
and I think everybody's in that boat.
Yeah, man. And so, eventually, you let go of the idea of money. Like for me, like money doesn't, matter to me, right?
But that's only once you've achieved that success. You can get in retrospect.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you're smart enough, right, and you learn from other people's mistakes, you won't go after the chasing the money deal, right? Like, because I think, and I think that's normal when you're younger. You just want to make money. You see, especially now with social media, right? You see everybody, flexing their cars and whatnot in their houses, and so you want to achieve that, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're all there at some point, and then that's what I say about an immature, mindset, which is normal. I think we all go through it, right? But then eventually, I think you could have the money, and then you eventually realize, is this it, right? And you're just like, and we almost self-sabotage ourselves because we thought it was something when it really wasn't.
Yeah.
Right? And then it takes a lot of, I think, introspective work to, figure out what it is that you really want, and then, creating a vehicle to achieve that mission and that purpose. So I think the main difference between, when you mention about how many businesses will fail, I believe that the ones that will fail are the ones who are chasing money and not purpose and mission, right? And authentic purpose and mission,
Yeah.
right? Because when I say like, we're gonna save 1 million lives, I truthfully mean that. And throughout my entire lifetime, we will achieve that, right? And because of that, it's like, there's no stopping,
Yeah.
right?
When you talk about authenticity, like people, I hear that all the time. How do you become authentic? What does that even mean?
I feel authenticity comes from vulnerability, right? To be able to be vulnerable enough to say what you don't want to say the most embarrassing moments of your life, to say what you're actually feeling inside that you don't want nobody to hear because you're in fear of what other people will think of you,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
I believe that's where authenticity comes from, being able to be vulnerable to express that, right? Sometimes some people don't want to be vulnerable, right? And I think what we saw at the conference is that people were vulnerable enough to share their story, right? And, and when I say vulnerable, I mean meaning for me, I could say I was never like this, grew up poor, this is the only thing I had. And I think when you come to terms with that and you stop caring what other people think, it's easier to be authentic.
So what was it that switched in your mind for you to be able to think like that?
Honestly, I think when I was younger, I used to care a lot about what other people thought about me, right? And even through social media, right? If you think about putting out content and putting out stuff out there, right? I'll tell you one thing of my personal belief at one point was if I post a lot, people are going to think I'm desperate. And I don't want anyone to think I'm desperate as if I need money when I actually did need money, right? And so that came from, at least for me, is like when I stopped caring what anyone thinks is when it became so much easier.
Yeah.
Right? And even right now, right? I think doing it on social media is one of the, hard things for a lot of people, but it all starts with not caring what anyone thinks, right? So even when I create content, I don't care. I just put it out there. I'm like, hey, this is what has worked for the thousands of clients we worked with around the world. I'm not putting out stats. I don't expect you to believe me. I'm just telling you what works, what has worked for us, right? And not caring what anybody thinks, right? I think it really stems down from that, and not trying to be fake, not trying to be someone you're not.
So if you were to give 2 tips to a business owner that wants to start making content on social media or online, period, what would you tell them?
First of all, don't care what anyone thinks. Who cares what anyone thinks, right? First, I think that's the first thing, right? Let go of other people's expectations of what they're going to think of you. And 2, just do it, right? You're going to suck at the beginning. Everybody sucks at the beginning, but you slowly get better, and better, right? I feel like creating content is like a sport, right? When you first get into a sport, you're going to suck, right? But you, over time, will eventually suck less, and and eventually you'll be a little good, and then you start getting better, and you start getting better, and you start getting better, right? So I think let go, don't care what anyone thinks, right? Let go of that, and just do it, right? Just go through it, right? Just put in the reps of just creating content, right? And I feel like everybody's first piece of content sucked.
Yeah.
Everybody. There's no person that just did it naturally, boom, they're good. No, everyone's first piece of content sucked, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure mine did too, right? At some point. But if we keep doing it, it'll get better, better, and better, right? But I think that would be my two best things, right? Is like let go of what other people think of you, right? And then just do the reps, put in the reps, no matter how bad you are. But I think those two things have to align to two beliefs, really, just to do it.
And also, I mean, social media is the perfect place to sell stuff because I think the quote that Bradley said that he was talking to Grant Cardone is like, hey, I'm going to unfollow you. It's like Grant Cardone was like, go ahead. You're not buying from me anyways.
Yeah, man.
Which is very powerful.
It is. And it's like we're coming into this new generation where back in the day, we used to put ads on newspaper.
Yeah.
Right? That's the way it was. Marketing's evolving. It's changing. Right? And if you don't adapt, you're going to be left behind.
Let's stay on that. Let's stay on that subject because I know you do Facebook advertising. So kind of touch on how the advertising, like you were talking about, we're putting it in newspapers, magazines, and the digital age now where we can put ads on Facebook, Google, TikTok, all those places. Kind of touch on that and how you've had success with it.
Well, like I said, I feel marketing's evolving, right? Meaning as a new generations come up, right? They're getting into new things, right? That eventually turns into your audience to some extent, right? So with that being said, I mean, when I think of marketing, I mean, I knew nothing about marketing. Like, I mean, back in the day, I was out putting things on Craigslist, right? I would look up other like trainers in other states and write what they're writing on their websites and put that on a Craigslist post, right? Like back in the day. I think right now with the marketing, Alex Hormozy was my first mentor, and the one thing he said is like, I could do it for you. You always rely on me, or I could teach you how to do it so you could do this independently on your own, right? And so it's like, what's that saying? Teach a man to fish,
Yeah.
right? And he'll live forever, right? So it's kind of like that same methodology within that. And so, with us evolving with the current generation of marketing, right? This is where social media, I feel, comes into place, and it's just, in my opinion, again, focusing on one acquisition channel that you're going to focus on, right? So meaning, I think we try to do too many things, and then your attention gets split multiple ways, right? So the one thing I've learned is, focus on selling one thing, like one product, one channel to one avatar, right? 3 simple things. One channel, meaning, are you going to do Facebook ads with Instagram? Are you going to do YouTube ads? Are you going to do, Google search? Which one are you going to do? And hammer down on that one only and get really damn good at that only, right? Once you're already cross, the $1 million mark per year, okay, acquire a second different acquisition channel. Maybe that's YouTube ads, right? Maybe that's, Google, like Google ads, right? Whatever it is, right? Or cold outreach, or any of those different methods, right? And this is not anything I came up with. Like I said, this is everything that I've learned from mentors in the past, and I've stuck by that, right? Because focus at the end of the day is what really creates fast results. Focus. Right?
Yeah.
And I think too many times we get distracted trying to do multiple different things, and we don't know what's working, what's not working. So it becomes like a skill of mastery, right? Right now, social media, it's like go all in on that one thing, and it's like Facebook, it's like, hey, it's working. So if that's going to be your method, meaning going paid ads, right? That's one way through social media versus organic. It's like, all right, then go all out on paid ads, and then until you cross that threshold, then it's like, okay, let's explore a different acquisition channel. Get that one on autopilot. The next acquisition channel will get you to the 3 million a year, right? And then you just keep on going from there, right? So that's kind of like the way I see it.
Yeah, those are strategies and tactics that I love to hear because those are the things that I go to those conferences for, like specifically for that, because I don't need motivation. Like I think over there is probably like 80% motivation speakers to get people pumped, and then some of it was the tactics. But which I find very interesting too, because if you're able to motivate people, they're in an emotional state where you can sell them something. I figured I've known that since marketing and advertising forever. Yeah. But it's a very interesting thing to see how these conferences are put on together. But going back to the focus part, I have that shiny object syndrome. I remember last year.
We all do as entrepreneurs, right? It's like that's shiny object syndrome is the thing that slows businesses down.
Yeah, and that really came into perspective last year when I was like, fuck, dude, I have so many things on my plate. I'm making documentaries. I'm doing all these other things. I'm working in advertising and marketing. Let me focus on one thing, and then the other things I'll put on the back burner for now. Like, I've had so many business ideas, and they've all failed because they don't have the attention. Can you kind of touch on that about the focusing part?
So think of it like this. Your brain and your focus has a certain bandwidth of attention, right? So you only have so much focus in a day, right, of what you can actually pay attention to, right? So you see people that, will have they'll have 3 different businesses, right, or 4 different businesses, or they have 4 different products in a single business, and everything's failing, right? Or just nothing's growing. They're all just staying stagnant at the same place, but that's because your attention is split 4 different ways. You only have so much attention. Like, you have one brain, so there's only so much attention you have, right? So you could have, 4 different products in your business, right? All you're trying to split your attention amongst 4, or you could just focus on one, because every single idea could make you millions. Each one of those 4 things can make you millions.
If you focus long enough.
You just focus long enough on that one thing and don't stop even when you think it's not working, right? If it's not working, you got to figure out, how do I make it work? And you just keep on hammering down on that. I think a lot of times in entrepreneur mindset, it's a thing of shiny object syndrome, right? You always want to chase the next thing. So every day, and this gets worse as you start making more money and you see more success, because your ego gets inflated and you're like, I could do it all, right? Yeah. So every single I think at least, I don't know how many times a month I have to stop myself from wanting to do something, because I see success in everything, right? And so it's actually happened recently. We're thinking about buying this commercial property, and I was like, oh yeah, right? And my wife had to remind me, this doesn't align with what you're trying to achieve. Like, with the direction you're going and your vision,
right?
This is not in alignment with that. I was like, shit, that's true. Like, what am I doing? And I caught myself, right, chasing something else, right? So this can happen with multiple businesses, but it can happen with multiple products in a business, right? Like, if you're in marketing, let's say you're doing copywriting, you're doing Facebook ads, you're creating content for businesses, writing a book, you're focused on all these different things, right? So they all require so much time in your day, in your week, in your month, right? So what if all your time and everything went into that one thing, right? So it's like, they say everybody has the same 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Well, the only difference between those who make a lot of money is because they focus hard on just one single thing, right? When that thing goes on autopilot, then yeah, you could probably jump to the next one, right? So, I don't know if you heard that saying about, millionaires have 7 streams of income or something like that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people tend to immediately try creating 7 streams, when in reality, it's like you get one stream to the millions, when you get that one on autopilot, and then you get the next stream, and then you get the next one, and you work your way up to that. You don't just...
You don't get 7 things at one time, and
exactly.
$1 million. No, you have 0.
Exactly, right? So that's the way I see focus, right? So one of the things I actively do is focusing on one thing, right? And then within my role of the company is focusing on the highest leverage things that only I can do.
Okay, so kind of explain that, because work your way how your business works, because I know when Jason Phillips was talking, he was talking about how to grow it from 0 to 10, and then 10 to 30, and then 30 to 100, and then so on. So kind of touch on the basic steps from the beginning, and then the next part, and then the next part.
Yeah, so if you think about making 6 figures, right? Just to make us like $100,000, for example, right? You just got to sell something to someone. That's it, right? Just do that long enough, you'll make 6 figures. Right? And so then when you go into higher 6 figures, right, obviously this is where, it starts requiring, organization of a team, right? And, what gets you, I think, he says 0 to 10, right? You just got to sell something, right? To get from 10 to $30,000 months, right? If you think about that, that's when it's like, okay, you have to get more clear on your marketing, right? Start developing a reliable acquisition channel to continue getting you leads.
And these acquisition channels can be Facebook ads or Google ads.
Facebook ads, Google ads, organic marketing. People get leads from podcasts too, right? So that's what, like 0 to 10, just selling something to someone, you'll eventually make 6 figures, right? Making 10,000 a month is a 6-figure, right? Mm-hmm. When you go from 10 to 20, right? Or about 10 to 20, right? You start having to figure out how do I reliably get leads from this acquisition channel, right? Because sometimes it gets very inconsistent. When you get to the 30 to 50, right, $1,000 mark, you start focusing on your product, right? Start getting really good at what that one thing is that you're selling, right? So you get really good at that, right? And then from there, right, then you end up scaling past the $1 million mark when you start doing it consistently. Mm-hmm. Because that's where it's like the consistency on doing those actions consistently eventually gets you past that 7-figure a year mark. And so with us, again, I learned the hard way, right? I waited so long to get mentorship, right? And so now I'm like, man, if I would have done this so early on, I wouldn't have wasted so much time, right? Like our growth has only happened in the last 2 years.
Wow.
Right? Well, since, One Shot came to life, right? 2 years. And so within that, we've gone through all those different stages, right, of business. And, the way I see it now, again, is just there's skills, beliefs, and traits you have to cross all those different barriers in business, mm-hmm. right? First thing, you got to learn how to market, right? Or get somebody to do that for you, right? Learn how to market whatever you're selling, right? Getting leads per se, right? Second skill, you got to learn how to sell, right? And I think as you learn each one of these things, this is how you end up going higher and higher in that bracket of how much you will actually make and how your business succeeds, right? Because these are the fundamentals of business, right? What we do as a service, every service comes down to like this within itself, right? So learn how to market, learn how to sell, learn how to perfect your product, right? And then you start building teams.
Okay.
Right? So 3 different skills, right? And then the beliefs around that, right? Everybody has limiting beliefs that stops them from actually growing.
So talk about that, limiting beliefs, because I talk about that stuff all the time, but I hear people say it every single day and they don't even realize they're saying it.
Yeah. I mean, man, I've only had the breakthroughs I've had through mentorship, right? Like I said, when I first started mentorship with other mentors, right? They were telling me to do things and I'm like, you don't understand. The place I live in a place in South Texas where people don't make a lot of money, right? People don't make a lot of money. It's a low income area. No one's going to pay for this. It's a limiting belief, right? That's a limiting belief of how you view reality, right? I had that belief. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have that belief wherever they're at, right? That's just one, right? Breaking through those beliefs is when you actually go through the actions and you get proven otherwise, or being a part of a community, right, where other people are doing things 10 times more than you, right, in lower circumstances, right? And so you change, and those beliefs start changing, right? And so even of the idea of making $20,000 in a day, and people are like, that's impossible. When I first met my wife, she's like, that's impossible for you to make, whatever amount of money I was making at the time when I first met her. And I was like, well, that's a limiting belief. Like, you think that's impossible, right? That's just one of many. Even right now, I probably have some limiting beliefs that I am unaware of that I will eventually figure out and have a breakthrough. So we have all these limiting beliefs around business, around money. They heard that saying, money's the devil, or money's the root of all evil. Yeah. That's a limiting belief, and that's why people will typically stay poor, right? With those types of beliefs. So there's a stack of beliefs that typically have to change, and I believe they only change when you actually go through it and prove yourself wrong. Yeah. Or you're in a community of people where you're seeing people doing 10 times more than you, right? Like when I first started with Alex Hermosi back in the day, I was the smallest fish in the tank, and I'm like, damn, like these guys are doing a lot, and I'm just like way down here. Like I was like, man, like, but seeing that, being a part of that community, right? I was like, okay, if they could do it, like there's no reason why I can't. And so it just set the bar for me. It was like, okay, that's the bar.
That's a standard
right?
now.
That's the standard, right? So when you're in those communities of mentorship, you start seeing the bar, right? And you have to, again, be in those communities, because then it just, you become the next smallest person in the next level, right?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because I always viewed certain things a certain way, and I could never see beyond that until I could see it for myself. And that's why I feel like I have to invest in myself and my knowledge and go into these type of things and learning more. You have to self-educate, and I feel like a lot of people aren't willing to do that or make the investment. What is it about spending money on yourself to acquire education and skills that people won't do?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The better question for anybody is to ask, how much have you ever spent on yourself to learn, right? It's funny how we do it with college, right? But we don't do it in the areas of where we actually need it, within your mental health and within, obviously, your business, right? So, I mean, I spend probably $40,000, $50,000 a year on mentorship. Wow. And now that's a mandatory thing. Like and this is where I feel you learn something from every single mentor, right? So I've had 3 different mentors in the past. I've learned valuable things from every single one of them, right? And only because of that is the reason why we've grown the way that we've grown, and I've been in the communities that I'm in, right? So self-education, right, in the area of exactly what you're doing specifically, right, is what can create growth, right? So, I usually don't live life in regret, but sometimes I'm like, damn, if I was only younger and did this, like, it's crazy how, so much could have been done earlier, but I think the life lessons I learned along the way were all like had to happen first. But because of that, actively investing in mentorship and learning, and that's like jumping the gun. Like when I first started, right, with Alex and Gym Launch, I couldn't afford it, right?
How long ago was that?
2019. This is when he was still actively coaching, right, like mentoring. I couldn't afford it, right? $1,000 a week, plus you got to pay $100 a day on ads to do it, right? At the time, I had $4,000 in my bank account, right? And I was like, man, and mind you, I had $4,000 in my bank account. I had just bought this small gym, right? Like literally, like barely catching breath, like as if I was drowning, right? And so after that, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna jump the gun. I cannot afford this, but I'm gonna do it, right? And so I jumped the gun and did it, right? And, immediately as soon as, we got started, I literally took advantage of every single hour in the day, because I was like, if this doesn't work, I lose everything.
Yeah.
And you just imagine $1,000 a week being taken out of your account every Friday. You only got $4,000, right? So I took advantage of every single hour. I was like, every single hour is going to count, because it was a sink or swim, right? And for me, I feel like I live in chaos. I like chaos, which is why I think that we've grown. So, my self-talk to myself, at the time was like, okay, bitch, now you got to work, right? Like, and so I took advantage of every single hour of the day, right? And I mean, sure enough, like, because I was in that situation, it was like, whatever beliefs you got, they're going to be broken whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, within 5 days, I made $7,000.
Damn.
Right? And after that, just kept on going from there, right? So the things that I've been fearful of the most investing in is what's gotten me to grow, and even when I couldn't afford it, right? And so I think when you're in situations like that, where it's a sink or swim moment,
desperation,
like you're gonna you're gonna grow from it, right? So from there, that's how I started within mentorship, right? And doing that, and then where I saw the value in it, because there was so much I didn't know, and it's just so much information to take in that it's so hard for your brain to take it all in and actually apply it and learn.
Yeah, well, the power of mentorship is that they've been doing it for so long and they command such a high price, but they distill all their information down into 3 days, well, one speech, I could say. And I can imagine, like, what are the calls that you have, like, with your mentors? Like, what is it specifically that you all talk about? Yeah.
So with my current mentor, Jason Phillips, right? Amazing guy. Like, I mean, like right now, you know, what I'm using him for is on the scaling our company side, right? So with him, we're separated. He has different levels of programs depending on how much you actually make, right? So their lowest level program, it's like a mastery program, and that's to help you make $10,000 a month, right? From there, you graduate into what's called the boardroom, right? Which is their graduate program for people making above $10,000 a month, right? And so once you're in the boardroom, then you will get separated into cohorts, right? A cohort is like a peer group, right? Of other businesses or entrepreneurs at the same level as you, right? So imagine the boardroom, different types of cohorts in that. And within those cohorts, right, you're with people making the same amount of money as you, right? So you have people in one cohort making 10 to 20,000 a month. Some people making 30 to 40, 40 to 50. Because at each of those stages, there are common struggles.
Okay.
Right? So when I first signed with him, you know, he was like, it's 35,000, right? And he's like, all you need to do is scale. His sales call with me was like 15 minutes. Literally, right? And so, but, you know, I was like, fuck, you know, like every single time, I'm just like, fuck, there's still fear in me even till now, even for the next mentor I get, right? But, so then, you know, you get put into a cohort. So then every week we have cohort calls, right? And every cohort has a specific coach, right? So I'm in the highest level cohort. So our coach is actually Jason Phillips, and every other cohort, they have other, you know, coaches under them, you know, taking care of those businesses. Mm-hmm. And so we meet once a week over Zoom, right? To go over, to go over our metrics, to go over like our struggles and whatnot, creating strategies for the following week. So we meet weekly with our cohort. And then every quarter, we have our one-day masterminds, right? So these are our quarterly masterminds where we meet up and we go over the quarterly goals for the next goal, right? So during the conference, we had our one day there. And in that one day, it's like, all right, let's talk about next quarter. What are the goals that we're going to shoot for? What did we achieve last quarter? What are we going to do this quarter? So it's like a level of accountability on your business, right? So you're in a group with your peer group. So in ours, there's only like 6 of us, right, for the most part. So
you all are at the highest level too.
Yeah, people at the 7-figure mark. And so we sit in this group. And the good thing about our group is that there's no whiners, there's no complainers. It's just like, got it, do it. So like what would normally take a whole day in a one day for anyone else, for us, it was like 4 hours and we're done. And Jason was like, that's why I love you guys. You guys just take action, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So then we meet up every quarter to go over that, and then, you know, and that will be in different locations, Virginia, Arizona, and whatnot. So we'll meet up every quarter, go through that. And then, of course, you have one-on-one calls that you could schedule with any of their coaches. So they have specialized coaches for sales, for marketing, for strategy, building teams, and then Jason himself, right? Booking calls specifically with him if needed, right? Mm-hmm. So they have an amazing program. I mean, I have nothing but great things to say. I'm learning a lot from him, and he's truly an authentic guy, which is, you know, kind of hard to find at some point. So yeah, and I mean, his actual mentor current day is Alex Hormozi, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, you know that because that is his current mentor today, since Alex doesn't mentor just anybody, right? Yeah. He doesn't do anyone. So since that's his mentor, it's like, okay, and like I know what Alex is capable of. I've experienced it firsthand, so I could trust this guy. Yeah. Right? So that's kind of the logistics of how it works, right? Mm-hmm. Every mentorship program does it differently. Okay. That's just how it is with Jason Phillips with NCI. Yeah,
one of the things I found interesting is when he was talking about like, we're going to take a break and our team members are over here and it's going to cost $35,000. So whoever lines up, go ahead and line up. I went to the restroom. I got back. The line was fucking long. I was like, dude, bro, like touch on that, because I think that's a very important marketing and strategic thing that they did, because to sell $35,000 right then and there for a program, and they have a line of people.
So this goes to tell you, right? Back to limiting beliefs. Tell anybody that, they'd be like, that's impossible. There would never be a line of people waiting to pay $35,000. That's a limiting belief, but you were there at the...
Yeah, saw it.
You saw it for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that breaks a belief to tell you that's possible.
Yeah.
Jason is a smart guy, right?
Well, that's the crazy part, dude, because he was up there like, I'm the dumbest guy in here. It's like, bro, come on, man. I seriously doubt that.
And, that comes from letting go of your ego, right? To know that, like you're not, right? And I think every person who's succeeded to that level has gone through that to where you learn the hard way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I got a tattoo that says ego is the enemy, because you eventually learn the hard way. So, I mean, like, that's what I like about him. He's a very humble guy, but very straightforward. And so, yeah, like, but the whole conference was choreographed in a way. I mean, I'm already in it, and I was convinced to buy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was so choreographed in a way that every speaker was instilling their beliefs in you, that you could actually do it, that you should take action today, like have your all-in moment and do it, right? That alone, right, will get, like, people are like, yeah, you know what? And then seeing everybody on stage when they were giving out the awards and everything,
That's
right?
irrefutable proof.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you can't BS that, right?
Yeah.
So within that, yeah, man, it was all choreographed so well. The speakers were all phenomenal. They all had very good insight. Like I got little nuggets from people, but yeah, it was really. I mean, it was very well choreographed, and I mean, I'm sure he'll make quite a bit. I mean, I'm sure he got quite a bit of leads from that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was really impressed with it. I mean, I've been to a lot of conferences. That one was really good.
Yeah, let's chat about. I saw another video the other day. So Jesse James West did a video about McAllen being the most obese city in the nation, and it got I don't know how many millions of views. And then a buddy sent me another video that's already had 1.2 million views like 2 days ago about McAllen being the fattest city in the nation. Kind of talk to that because you're in the space. You have some very specific insight. Last year in November, I started 100,000strong.org to try to get 100,000 people getting fit or getting on a healthier lifestyle. And to me, it felt like nobody gave a shit. Like they didn't care. And I think it's because I was coming at it from a preaching type of thing because I had just lost 65 pounds. I started lifting weights. I felt great. So I was on top of the mountain, like preaching to everybody, like, this is the greatest thing in the world. You got to do this. You got to do this. Nobody listened. Nobody cared. So kind of like talk about how your tactics and your strategy goes forward to help people lose weight and stay with that healthy lifestyle.
Well, to be honest, I mean, being in the space for so long and within what we do, the first thing that has to align is that someone has to want to make the change, first of all, right? You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. So first that has to happen, right? I personally don't know if there are a lot of people in the Valley who don't care, right? But I try to get myself in front of people who do want to change, right? So there's two things that have to align in order to change someone's life, right? They have to be willing to invest in themselves, and the level of urgency has to be a level 10 urgency for them to make the change.
Okay, so talk about that. Break that down.
So you can have somebody who is overweight, miserable, right? They have all these health diseases, right? But they still don't want to make a change. And I would tell that person, okay, well, you're clearly not in that much pain. This is not that comfortable for you. Wait till it gets more uncomfortable, right? You will eventually hit rock bottom to where you will make the change. Everybody's rock bottom in their health. Everybody hits it differently, right? Some people have a higher tolerance to it, right? So when I say level of urgency, meaning what's the difference between somebody who just wants to lose weight just because I want to look just better versus someone, a father of 3 kids whose kids are under 7 years old, who just got news from his doctor that he's about to die any day now due to his cholesterol and triglycerides, right? And now this father who's very successful, has a lot of money, great family, but he's about to die, right? That's a level 10 urgency. Yeah. This man now is like, I don't care what it is, I need to do something now. right? That type of person, you could change their life, right? Because the level of urgency is actually up there versus someone just doing it for aesthetics, right? For anyone to work with us, we don't work with everybody. That's the difference within us, right? Someone walks in and they're like, I'm going to sign up today. And I was like, you can't sign up that fast. You need to first fill out this application. Our team needs to pre-qualify you. Then we still have to consult with you, right? To then further pre-qualify you into this, right? We want to work with people who truly want to change their lives, who have decided, I want to change my life, and I'm very serious about it, right? Which is the only reason why we have such a high success rate with the clients that we work with, right? So when we do our marketing, that's what we're targeting. We're targeting those types of people, right? There are a lot more people like that than what we think, right? But the fact is that how do you get those impressions for people to know about you? Right? Well, you got to pay, right? I mean, you got to pay one way or another, whether your time and going out to places or you pay like Facebook ads, right? So level of urgency has to actually be there, right? Or you could influence people, right? You could influence people on how they can have a better life and lifestyle, right? And you could do that, right? That's like an arm wrestle with somebody to make them believe that they actually are worth it, right? And then willing to invest in themselves, right? If you know, there's not many people who can confidently say, we have an 83% success rate with the clients we work with. They can't. Not many people post actual testimonials because, you know, like, again, maybe they may not know how, but because, again, people are usually paying cheap for cheap things, right? And we all have a different perspective of what's cheap, right? So you pay for something cheap, you're going to get, you know, you pay for what you get.
Yeah.
Right? You could go and join a $150, you know, Orange Theory class or, you know, whatever group fitness, right? At least you're doing something. That's all that matters, right? So, you know, within us, again, we know that those two things have to align. If we know those two things align, we know we could actually save someone's life and actually create a transformation within them, right? There are times, yeah, it does require a level of influence because that's what would be the third thing, but that's like you're really trying to sell somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Versus, hey, I'm going to pave a path for us to actually change your life, right? And so that's what I feel about how those two things have to align. And I feel that in the Valley, there's not enough businesses like us who do that, right? And there needs to be more. But what gets the best of people is their ignorance to take advice and to take mentorship.
So what is it about that why do people have that mentality? Why will they not change?
Within their health?
With their health, yeah. Specifically with their health.
You know, limiting beliefs within themselves. Fear of failure. What if I do it and it doesn't work? Right? What if I waste all my money on this and it doesn't work? Right? Fear of judgment within their family. Right? It's a crazy thing. When we change people's lives, believe it or not, it causes a lot of conflict in their families. For the families, like, oh, you think you're better than us just because you're all thin now and you're all healthy?
Yeah.
They get pushback like that.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right, because being from the Rio Grande Valley, like, food is our culture. We share it together. We sit down at the same table. And I experienced that because when I would go home and I was on this fitness journey, my eating changed. And I was always a cook, so I'd cook for everybody. And eventually I was like, I'm just cooking healthy food that I like to eat, that I need to eat for this. And it created a lot of, I guess, it created a division in the house, because like I was trying to achieve this, but I'm still trying to keep the house in order. Yeah. So it's a very hard thing. And I get why people fall, because for one, working out 3 times a week, lifting heavy ass weights is hard. Changing your habits, your eating is hard, but then you got to do that again and again.
Yeah, and it's hard doing it alone, right? Yeah. And this is where, like I said, I feel like here in the Valley, there's just not enough places that have a vehicle, a business that can create that transformation within people, right? That's why, like for me, right, what we've created, right, is something very special, right? Because we're legitimately changing lives. one of the things that we will do in the future is teach other businesses how to implement this so they could change lives. Because I know for a fact to achieve our mission to save 1 million people's lives here, I'm not going to be able to do it alone, right? So to achieve that mission, we will teach other people how to do this. People willing to take mentorship and advice of how to create that. Because and again, this is what I say about ignorance. We pay an ignorance tax, right? Not seeking mentorship or advice. So with other businesses in this space, they may not want to take advice or mentorship to change people's lives because it may not align with what what their purpose is, right? But because of ignorance and ego, right? I was once at a point where I was like, I'm going to figure it all out by myself because I want to take credit for it, to say I did it by myself, right? So I know that a lot of other, people, like anywhere can probably think like that too. So if we got more open-mindedness in people actually seeking mentorship, like, hey, I want to create the impact you're doing. Can you teach me how to do it? Right. And this is how we could create bigger impact, right? By other people doing what we're doing, right? And so within that, we've perfected our business model, right? I mean, like as far as the way we do it, now it's just about scaling it.
Yeah.
Right? And now it's finding the right people to come into our organization who share the same values and the same mission, right? To continue growing it. But like I said, going back, those are the two things that really I feel like have to align within that.
Let's jump on what businesses can do right now, because there's all this talk about recession coming. Inflation's already here. So how can businesses use social media specifically to help grow their brand?
I'm not going to lie. I personally don't watch the news, listen to the radio, or have seen anything of that, right? If there was a recession happening, I would not know about it. All I know is what I can control right now.
Okay.
And all I know is that we're growing. So for all I know, we could be going through a Great Depression, and all I know is like we're growing, but I wouldn't even know that's happening, right?
Yeah.
I think the first thing is if you think about in a recession, right? I feel that there are environmental things that could influence the way you see your business and then create beliefs around that. We could watch the news like, oh my God, we're going into a recession, the stock market's crashing and whatnot. And then you end up believing, man, my business is going to slow down. Now the people are not going to come. And we start having all these beliefs. Well, imagine if you never knew about that and you were only focusing on growth.
Yeah.
Right? You're like only focusing on growth. Right? I'm a very analytical thinker. So when I go through all of my metrics, I'm just like troubleshooting. I was like, okay, this isn't performing. I need to change this creative and maybe this copy. All right, this isn't performing. We need to look at what's our process looking like to get people to show up in the door, to have people show up on their Zoom call, whatever it is, right? So I think, best advice for a recession is continue focusing on growth and have your focus on just growth within itself, not trying to survive it, but just focusing on growth. I mean, that's my belief. Like I said, given that I don't keep up with any of it, right? I just focus on the growth and solving problems.
So you're solely focused on your business growth, period.
Yeah, I don't have any hobbies. I mean, it's just I love what I do so much. So, my role within the business now is just solving problems, right? And not that everything is a problem, but troubleshooting things, right? It's like, how do we continue this trajectory in the path that we're going, right? And along that path, there's going to be troubleshooting needed, right? You're going to have to solve problems, fix things, and that could be on the marketing and sales side, or it could be on the fulfillment, administrative, client success side, right? So it's kind of like troubleshooting all those things. Creating infrastructure, right? And I just focus on those specific things only. So it goes back into focus, right? All that will be happening, but you need to focus on what can you control. Recession's happening, okay. Business, okay. What can you control? You can control your daily actions and where you choose to focus on. You can continue watching the news and seeing all that happen, or you could just focus on how do I just continue growing.
Yeah.
Right? That's just me personally, right? I mean, my wife says I'm crazy, I'm a psychopath, but at the end of the day, it's what's gotten us to where we're at, right? Yeah. but like I said, I think the best advice is to like figure out ways how can I continue growing.
Yeah. Let's talk about life hacks. Maybe you can give me one. For me, I started waking up at 5:30 in the morning because I found out that there's nobody emailing me, nobody calling me, nobody is bothering me, so I can get a lot of work done during that time. Do you have a life hack like that?
Man, I don't think so. Believe it or not, I think a really good life hack. Someone asked me, how do you wake up so early every single day and you just go nonstop, right? And you wake up so early, right? And I really thought about it, right? I was like, why do I do that, right? I kind of like introspective work, and I came to the conclusions like I really don't like waking up at 5 in the morning, right? I really don't like it, but I do it every single day, so I just got used to doing shit I don't like doing.
Became a habit.
Well, I maybe, but I came to the conclusion I just got used to doing shit I don't like doing, right? It's the shit that you don't like doing is what you should be doing.
Yeah, the tedious work over and
the
over.
boring
and over
work,
again. Yeah.
right? So when I was in gym launch with Alex at the time, one of the values was do the boring work. The boring work is what gets you success. So if you think about the things that you don't want to do in your business, it's what you should be doing.
What you should be doing.
Don't want to wake up early, it's probably what you should be doing, right? And so for me, is like I think I just got used to doing shit I don't like doing, right?
Yeah.
But I just do it because again, it's like for me, it's like a normal thing of just doing shit I don't like doing. I just kind of just like do it, right? So, and mind you, I have my days where I sleep in, right, on the weekends and whatnot, but I never feel good about it. Like me sleeping in is waking up like at 8 in the morning, right? Like I feel shitty all day.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like dragging, right? So yeah, to some extent, it does become a habit. And for me, it's like, again, my brain thinks really weird, but yeah, I came to that conclusion. I was like, I just got used to doing shit I don't like doing. And I had that deeply instilled in me, just do the boring work. And you're right, during that time, there is nobody bothering you, right?
Yeah.
You get to be more creative and whatnot. But I believe we could create those spaces any time of the day by getting yourself in the right environment, right? You could lock yourself in an office, leave your phone in your car, and get to work.
Yeah.
Right? Not have technology in front of you and get to work creatively, right? Have a notebook and pen and paper, right? So I can't say I have any life hacks aside from brutal work ethic for the most part. And I think that's where it just comes from. It's just a work ethic. Like I've just gotten used to working 14-hour days.
So how does one achieve work ethic? Because I feel like a lot of people hate their jobs for one, and they're not fulfilled. So how does somebody say, oh, I can work all day, I can do this and this stuff? I think there's a difference between productivity and being busy, obviously. But how did you get that work ethic, and how did you keep it with what you're doing now?
So I think there's two ways to achieve work ethic. One could be out of desperate need, and the second is out of pure passion. Those two can create a higher level of work ethic. The way I experienced it, again, when I was in my 20s, I always wanted to make a lot of money, right? And I was always trying to find ways to make a lot of money, right? It was just about money, money, money. So for me, the way that happened was, in my early 20s, I let go of because at the time I was just doing personal training, left personal training, and went to work in the oil refineries, right? To make money, right? And from what I heard, guys out there were making $1,800 a week, right? Which at that age was a lot of money. And so I was like, well, shit, I'm going to do that, right? So going out there to work, you're working 12, 14 hours a day, 3 months straight, right? You did that, eventually, moved to Canada, got a job in Canada, and lived in Canada for a while. And, out there, our winters would get minus 50 degrees.
Oh, damn.
And mind you, I was a scaffold builder. A scaffold builder is one of the most strenuous, laborious jobs you could do in refinery work, right? Laborious, like just insane. Hard labor work outside, right? And so living in Canada, we're working 14 hours a day, just every single day, minus 40, minus 50 degree weather, right? Outside. And every single day, I did it because, in Canada, I was 21, 22, right? Making $4,200 a week.
Damn.
Yeah, I lied on my whole like resume job application just to get the job, but I did it, right? Thank God they didn't like do due diligence, but I did it, right? Because I was that, wanting to make money at the time. And so doing that, right? Brutal work conditions, right? It's just insane. But I remember, working and just laborious work. And, many times I would tell myself, I would rather be scrubbing a floor with a toothbrush than be here, right? And just passing materials, doing all these things. And I used to remind myself of that. I was like, I'd rather be scrubbing a floor with a toothbrush than be here doing this, right? And I continued doing that work every day because of desperation of money, right? Because it was poor, right? So continue doing that. And I mean, money talks, right? Money will make you do crazy things, right? $4,200 a week will make you do crazy things. So I did it. But the whole time I was like, man, I'd rather be somewhere warm, doing something. So now when I left that, coming back into the real world, right? And now doing what I do right now, like it's a luxury.
Yeah.
It's a luxury to work 14 hours a day in a controlled environment where I get to go home to my house, whatever it is, right? So I have perspective of what does hard work look like, right? And what does that feel like, right? Going through that, and that plays a big mental game on you. So I personally gained that work ethic through that specific experience. And I mean, it's paid off because I feel that in business and entrepreneurship, you have to have an ungodly work ethic, right? At the beginning, especially, right? So those are the two things that I feel, you either have to be in desperate need of it, right? Again, like if something bad happened and you had to come up with $20,000 next week, like you're going to get really productive, right? You're going to try making it work. That's out of desperation. You'll work. The same way with me, paying $1,000 a week when I couldn't afford it, I got to work out of desperation to make it work. And eventually, the other thing is you could be very passionate about it. Yeah. Right? And passion can make you work longer. Because if you're passionate about it, you love it. You're having fun doing it, right? Like for me, this is a hobby to me. I feel this is a hobby. When people ask me like, like what about retirement? Or I get advice from financial advisors. You need to create an IRA for your retirement. And I was like, what am I going to retire from? Yeah. Like, well, when you get older. And I was like, I'm not going to retire. Telling me to retire and stop doing what I'm doing is telling me to give up my passion and what I love. So I'm going to continue doing this for the rest of my life, right? So that's how much I love what I do. So it's like, if I were to retire, if I worked a regular job and I would retire, I would come back to what I'm doing today. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Different perspective, right? And so for me, that's what what I feel it comes down to develop work ethic. And, some people are just very comfortable, right? And because you're comfortable, you're not in desperation, you're not going to work that much, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Before we finish off the podcast, Alex Hormozi is a very interesting person. I dived into all his contents, and there was one thing that he said specifically that made me hate him. I was like, one day you're going to die. 2 weeks later, you're going to be forgotten. Nobody's going to remember your name. Why do you do the things that you do knowing that?
Yeah, so he believes that there's no legacy. You're not going to leave any legacy. 100 years from now, nobody will remember your name, right? And I feel that if your intention is for recognition, for people to remember you, right, then that'll be very disappointing, right? The reason why I do what I do, right, is to seek the fulfillment that I desire in the moment of time I'm in right now. So I could live these next 80 years happy and fulfilled, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what happens after I die. If I could leave, tools for people to implement after me to continue on that impact, right, that's a plus. But I don't seek legacy. I don't seek people to remember my name. So I try to live in the moment the most that I can, right? And just trying to create the impact that I'm trying to create right now at this moment in time, right? And treating every day of my life accordingly, because at the end of the day, changing people's lives, right? Building that, and mind you, changing people's lives plus changing the lives of the staff that we have within our teams, right? That's where I get my fulfillment, right? So different perspectives to each their own, right? I feel that some people want to be remembered. They want to be in the textbooks and whatnot, and that comes from a sense of wanting significance. And significance is a human need that we all desire in one way or another, right? Just for me, when I think of anyone not caring in the future, kind of like what he says, like, you know, no one's going to remember your name in the future. Like for me, it's like, okay, I mean, I'm okay with that. Like for me, that was never a thing for people to remember me, right? But again, for me, it's like if I could just create that impact, that's what matters to me at the end of the day. So yeah, and I just think that everybody, you know, some people want to be remembered, some people don't. So for me, it's like not one of those things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but yeah, he does have a lot of interesting.
Yeah, they're very interesting tidbits that I pulled from him over the years. But I would say when I started my journey and I got healthy per se, and everybody's like, dude, why are you eating that crap? I was like, just go and get your burger, go get your fries, and you could die tomorrow in a car crash. And my thing was like, well, it's about the quality of the life that you have left that you want to focus on. It's like, yeah, sure, I can have a burger and fries and milkshake, whatever I want, but I want the quality of my life for the next, I'm 41. So I would say that I got at least 50 to 60 years, hopefully. Yeah. I want those years to be the best quality of life I have. That way, when I'm 80, I don't have to worry about any disease coming my way.
And again, the same thing applies with people who choose not to do anything. Like, why am I going to work that long? I'm still going to die either way, right? Or, you know, and I think one of the things I've learned too, even from Jason, you know, one thing that he taught me was like, you got to enjoy life. He's like, making all this money for what? Like, travel, do things. So, I mean, that's why we travel so much, right? So it's kind of like in the same way where there's nothing wrong with having pizza, burgers, and whatnot, right? You just got to learn the balance. How much can you do of it? How little can you do of it, right? What's that perfect balance, right, of how much you could actually do of it? I think people think in binaries too much. It's either you could eat a burger or you can't, right? Or you could eat this much junk food, you can't. It's like, no, it's not binary. It's a continuum. It's like, how many burgers can you eat before it becomes detrimental to your health?
Yeah.
Right? In business, the same way. You could hunker down and be obsessive over business and never enjoy life, right? Or never enjoy anything, right? I mean, for me, my business is my hobby, is what gives me life and whatnot. But we travel because I love traveling, right? Like, I just love traveling. So it's like, yeah, I treat myself doing that. Obviously, I can't travel every single day, every single month, right? The same way that someone can't just eat burgers and pizza every single day, all throughout the, you know what I mean? So again, I think just the unknowing of that, hey, you could have burgers, you could have pizza, you just got to learn how to have it. Ultimately, like, that's what we teach, right? We teach people how to have burgers, how to have pizza, how to have tacos, and still drop weight.
Yeah.
Right? And people think that's impossible. And I was like, talk to any of the clients we've worked with. They're all going to tell you, like, yeah, I'm eating regular ass food. I'm going to Salt. I'm going to House. I'm eating fine dining. I travel, and I'm still able to maintain this, right? Yeah. But that's what we teach, because that's more sustainable long term, right? Because it's just what we do, right? And so it's like, if you could lose weight enjoying all the foods you eat, then, you know, then makes it a lot easier, right? And so, like you mentioned, where somebody told you, like, why are you eating that? Why not just have this burger and whatnot? That's thinking in a binary where, you know, to where sometimes, you know, that person may think that, oh, he's only going to eat salads and that's it. It's like, no, you'll probably have a cheat meal here and there or whatever it is, right? But at the end of the day, it's not of whether you do it or you don't do it, is how much of it do you do and how little of it do you do, right? Where are you at within that spectrum?
Yeah.
Right? And ultimately, you know, like I said, that's what creates more sustainability within anything. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's like my kind of like take on that, where, you know, people kind of judge you immediately. And,
yeah.
Even with me, I told people, like, you're gonna see me at Peter Piper, and I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, like, this is what we teach. Like, I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. Like,
right.
I'll have, like, I even posted on my social media, like, I'm gonna have tacos. Like,
and that goes back to the authenticity part of it.
Yeah, like, I'm not trying to be something I'm not, right? Like, you know, it's kind of like, I'm a regular human being, right? Like, you know, everybody has their goals, and it's fine. Like, if you want to be a bodybuilder, be a bodybuilder, right? If you want to be a competitor, be a competitor. Do what works for you, right? At the end of the day, but be authentic about it. Don't try being something you're not, right? So for me, it's like, you know, like, you see is what you get, like, right? And so, yeah, like, for me, I mean, I eat regular food. People think, oh, you probably eat healthy all the time. I was like, no, like, you know, I eat regular food. I mean, I've learned the balance that works for me specifically, right? I would rather eat clean Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, go ape shit. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner is nonstop hardcore, right? But that's just me.
Yeah.
No one should do that, right? But, you know, that's my balance where I could enjoy food, I could be healthy, I could be active, you know, and I'm good, right? And again, what people have to figure out is what works for their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right?
What works for me has really helped actually is intermittent fasting. So I'll fast from like 9 p.m. to like 2 or to 5 the next day. So that actually helps me because I there's something that allows me to focus a little bit more when it gets after lunch. I'm not tired anymore.
There's science behind that, right? There's science behind that. And again, and that's what people ask me, like, do you think I should do intermittent fasting? I heard a lot of people at work. So I was like, it doesn't matter whether it works or it doesn't work. What matters is, does it work for your specific lifestyle?
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't work for your lifestyle and you're miserable the whole time, you will eventually stop doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Like, you know, one of the things like within Alex's content, right? There's no shoulds, right? It's not what you should do, right? It's basically what works for you. If that works for you, then hey, go for it, right? If it doesn't, maybe you need to explore a different option, right? Everything has its benefits, its pros, its cons. Keto has its benefits. Atkins, intermittent fast, everything you hear about there has their pros and cons. What matters is that we can't portray that into other people. Like, hey, you need to do exactly what I do.
Right.
And if you don't, that means you're not the greatest. Well, someone may not want to be the greatest. They just like, I just want to be around for my kids when they get older, right? And be healthy, not be on a risk of a heart attack, right? But it comes down to, does it work for your lifestyle or doesn't it, right? And so for me, it's like, there's some days where I fast unintentionally. Like, I just get so caught up in work and, you know, I'll fast till dinner time, right? And I'll just get everything in dinner, right? People think that's bad.
Yeah.
Right? And there's so many, this is why you find so many mixed ideas, right, in the space, because the truth is they all work.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing, right? There's no one perfect way. They all work. But what matters is what works for your specific lifestyle, what works for your specific goals, right?
Yeah.
A goal could be, I just don't want to have high cholesterol. I don't mind having a gut. I just don't want to have high cholesterol and be at risk of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Another goal could be on the extreme. I want to compete, be a professional bodybuilder, be the best. Hey, that's totally cool. Do that. But you can't portray those, like the methods to get to the goals to each to one of those.
They're very specific
right?
to the person.
Yeah, like a bodybuilder can go and tell somebody, oh, you're trying to get healthy for your kids, do this strict bodybuilding diet plan.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to work with their lifestyle because they're not trying to be a professional bodybuilder, you know?
Yeah.
So it comes down to what works for you, and having somebody to guide you through that, to break down your lifestyle and figure out what works for you. Do you travel a lot? Do you do fine dining a lot? Do you not know how to cook? Do you know how to cook? How much time do you have in the day to even cook if you did, right? So it's like all those different variables have to be taken into account to create what is truly sustainable for an individual.
Yeah.
Right? Because if it's not sustainable, you would do it for the short term, you will get the result, but the moment you stop doing it, because it's not sustainable, you will eventually gain it all back and be back where you started.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. Well, Albert, I appreciate your time and all your insights, and tell everybody where they can find you.
Social media, Instagram, you can find us, One Shot, you could find One Shot on Instagram at One Shot RGV. For me, I'm probably like the only Albert Sloss out there. You'll probably see my dad on there, but it's like I'm probably like the only one, given our last name's like a rare one. So yeah, Albert Sloss on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I mean, we have a TikTok. I don't manage it, but it's there. So we put a lot of content on there. But yeah, that's where you could find me, and stay tuned within our journey to see what we're doing, and all of that within our community.
Awesome, man. Well, then we'll see you guys on the next Sesh. Peace.